Our next section is actually very interesting. It's two success stories about Ukraine. And I would invite to the stage the Honorable Wayne Easter, President of Razom Invest Canada Inc., and Tom Gitzel, President and CEO of Cameco.
Thank you. I'm Wayne Easter, President of Razom Invest Canada, but a Prince Edward Islander. I'll go through a number of slides here and explain them. But let me start by following up on what the President of CUCC said in the beginning. And that is that we wouldn't be in Ukraine if it was not for being at this conference last year. We attended, and I want to thank Zazan for being supportive ever since as we tried to establish a small business in Ukraine. About Razom, just a little bit about Razom. We are a Prince Edward Island internationally based development company. We've had multiple decades of experience between the four of us who established this company. And it was out of attending that conference last year and we were there because all of us have personal Ukraine or Ukrainian connections. And the Prime Minister of Ukraine spoke here last year, and what he said was very important. He said, we need to rebuild Ukraine back better, and that the economic front is as important as the military front. We took that to heart, and we decided, what can we do? And while here, we met another individual, Roland Thiessen, who I think many of you would know, who has businesses in Western Canada and also a partnership with a firm in Ukraine. So from that, we worked with him. We decided we had traveled with to Ukraine with him. We'd look at the land base, and we would see if we could start a small potato operations with big goals. So currently, as it says in the slide, we're currently partnering with the Canadian-Ukrainian concerns in agriculture production. Our vision is to become a leading advocate for Ukraine redevelopment by facilitating the transfer of Canadian technology and know-how, and we've seen that firsthand in Ukraine. Our mission is to establish an investment and trading platform that facilitates the export of Canadian and Ukrainian technology, goods, and services in support of the Rebuild Ukraine effort. The individual between Alan and I in the photo there is MP Dmytro Nakaluka. And he said, and when we met with him here in Toronto and when we were in Kiev, he said it is so important that you are actually here in person in Ukraine. And I'm going to tell you a little story. We were in a restaurant one night in some little town, and the people that we were with they kind of think it's not a good idea to have a drink. So Alan and I, of course, being, we don't want to offend them, so we're not going to have a drink. And in that town, when they heard there was a couple of Canadians there on the ground in Ukraine, pretty near everybody in the restaurant come over, and the restaurant was 3/4 full, wanting to offer us a drink, and we sadly had to refuse. Our short-term goals are to improve potato seed production, improve that there is a potato seed production model, and we're doing that in Luhani. We have secured the rights to high-yielding potato seed, and we want to formalize our relationship with local partners and suppliers. Now, in terms of doing this, the three pictures at the bottom, you'll see individuals in the potato field in Luhani there. And we think if you have good seed, and we're all from Prince Edward Island, we're a seed-producing province, we're the biggest potato-producing province in Canada, surprisingly, for a small province. And we want good seed can lift, good potato seed and production can lift the whole potato industry in Ukraine. They are a big potato producing country, but the quality and the production leaves a lot to be desired. So we believe we can enhance that. Now, my partner, Alan Parker, he's been in the potato industry for many, many years, and he's what we'd call a potato expert. He spent more than 100 days on the ground in Ukraine producing potatoes, and we're very satisfied with the kind of production that we've had. The second picture shows the harvest. The third shows the storage. So what's critical here in terms of, I think, agriculture production in Ukraine is bringing in new technology, new approaches. They've got a tremendous land base of which to work from. Our medium and long-term goals is to expand seed potato production in Ukraine, as I said, to lift the whole industry, to increase fresh potato production and processing, and we're working with other individuals there. And that I think the thing that everybody needs to understand is when you're on the ground in Ukraine, you make connections. People appreciate you being there, in person, on the ground, working with them to try and achieve success. We believe we could introduce Canadian beef genetics, husbandry, and processing models, and we've actually talked to many in the dairy industry to try and see where we can go there. If they were to breed the bottom end of their dairy cattle beef, then you could build a substantial beef industry. Grains and oilseed processing, because one of your rotational crops is grains and oilseeds when you're in the potato industry. Aquaculture production, which isn't really happening, we have a big industry in Prince Edward Island in that area. One of the difficulties in Ukraine, the estuaries are not allowed to, you're not allowed to do aquaculture in them. Many of the products that you grow in aquaculture actually clean the water, and that may be a possibility. Farm-level green energy production, we believe that where we would like to go is to have a kind of a sustainable farm operation where you go the full cycle. You have beef, which provides beef cattle provides the manure for the nutrition for the potatoes and the rotational crops for other added value crops, and then you sell into the fresh market and the seed market. The vision is to have a Canadian Centre of Excellence showing best practices. And this one, I want to be a little critical of the government that I've been a part of. I was an MP for 28 years. I chaired the Finance Committee in this government for the last 6. I didn't run in the last election. But if we're going to do what we need to do in Ukraine, the Canadian government has to come up to the plate on the business investment side. They're doing all kinds of things in terms of supporting the government over there. They're doing all kinds of things in terms of the military. As Yvonne said, we've trained 40,000 military folks, and the Ukrainians really appreciate that. But the government of Canada has to do more in terms of supporting private industry in Ukraine and investment in that area. That will really, the private sector is what is really going to bring this country back and rebuild it back better. I put this shot on the bottom there. That's the office and the equipment area on the farm that we're working on in Luhani. And the reason I put it there, the building doesn't look like a whole lot. But one of the biggest part of our success, I think, is not, we've grown a crop that is 3 times larger than the average potato crop over there, but the individuals that work in that building, they're all smiles. They're seeing this production that can actually happen on their land. The engineer who works in that shop, we broke a shaft on a piece of equipment. He rebuilt that shaft in 2 hours and a half. It's amazing the talented people that are there. And the smiles that you see by the people seeing the production, seeing what you do there, is really as important, nearly, as financial returns. To conclude then, Canada really has a significant role to play, given its large Ukrainian diaspora. Razom is on the ground tangibly, demonstrating its commitment to rebuild Ukraine efforts. There's terrific results so far in the seed production, as I indicated, 3 times the yield using our methods and putting the proper inputs on. And we are certainly seeking support from many partners to realize our vision for Ukraine in redevelopment. The picture on the bottom is of the mayor of Slavakovich. I can't pronounce that right, but it's a town that was established city that was established in 1987 after the disaster of Chernobyl. And so it's fairly close to Chernobyl and 12 miles, I think, from the Belarus border. But that town was built for 70,000 people. There was 25,000 in it before the war. There's 15,000 people there now because 10 have left and some are starting to come back. But the opportunities in that town, the infrastructure that's there, the industrial parks is just tremendous. And the mayor was so happy to talk to us, and we're trying to work with them in another area to get people in. One last thought I want to make, which connects to what Sergei Hedachuk had to say. Where is this picture? Is it outside Toronto? No, it's outside Kiev. And if you're in downtown Kiev, you would think you're in downtown Toronto. The traffic is heavy. The restaurants are 3/4 full. People are out and about. They're living their daily lives. And we get blinded by what we see on the TV. All you see is the war, the difficulties. But 75 to 80% of the economy is functioning. Where we were, where we are, yes, there's missile alerts now and then, and yes, there's a risk. But there's also a real opportunity. And I'll tell you, these Ukrainians are such wonderful people to work with. They want to see their country rebuilt back better. And we have to be there to assist them in ensuring that the economic front is as important, as the Prime Minister said. The economic front is as important as the military front, and Canada has to be on the ground to do that. We've been fairly successful to date. We're pleased with our crop. We're pleased with the opportunity where we may go. So thank you very much. All the best.
All right, good morning, or good afternoon. They said please be wrapped up by 12. It's 12:01, so I'll do my best. I know I'm the last speaker between you and lunch, and that's not lost on me, so I'll try and run quickly. So Goldie Eider said, hurry up, I'm hungry. So let me just say thanks for allowing me to be here today with you. I'll try to be quick with my story. I just want to tell you our story, our Cameco now / Westinghouse story in Ukraine, and it's a success story. And I hope at the end you can say, wow, that's a great example of companies going in and working together with Ukrainian partners. And so far it's been a huge success. And we're not in it for a week or a month. We're in it for decades. And so we're proud of that. So let me just take you through. This is kind of a bit of a slideshow of what I did on my summer vacation. It's so Cameco, Energoatom is our partner there. So just remember that name, Energoatom. They're the electricity company. Anybody from Ukraine will know that. So I have to give you a little bit of our story at Cameco, just so you know who we are. So I live in a place called Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. You'd think you're in the middle of Ukraine where you are there, because if you look around, it looks exactly the same. Big farming district. In fact, I think it's 35% of the people that live in Saskatchewan have Ukrainian heritage. And so we have lots of communities. We know what Vareniki is, don't kid yourself. We still lots of communities that speak Ukrainian in our province, so we have a rich history. Our company's, we're 35 years old. We're in the nuclear fuel business. So Saskatchewan is blessed with wonderful uranium deposits. Uranium is the fuel for nuclear reactors after a bunch of processing. That's what we do. We have access to these mines. They're world-class mines in Saskatchewan that we mine uranium. We send the uranium, and I'll show you that out for processing here to Ontario. Ontario, by the way, if you count the number of lights in here, 6 out of every 10 of these lights are nuclear-powered lights here in Ontario. 60% of the electricity is nuclear. Same number in Ukraine. 60% of the electricity in Ukraine. You have 15 nuclear reactors in Ukraine, and so that's what we're going to talk about. Let me keep going. We just bought a company called Westinghouse with a partner called Brookfield, so 2 Canadian companies. We paid $10 billion, and we bought this Westinghouse company. It's not the ones that make the microwaves and stuff. That's a different branch. We make nuclear fuel. And you heard one of the speakers earlier talking about Westinghouse. So Westinghouse is an American technology, now owned by Canadians, but Cameco will mine uranium, will make fuel, and then Westinghouse takes over and makes fuel bundles that fit into the Ukrainian reactors, which is Russian technology, of course, and from the old days. And so that's what we've just taken over, and that's part of our success in Ukraine. So that's what we do. We go right from end to end. We can build reactors and hope to be building some. We've got some agreements to build reactors in Ukraine going forward, and we're very optimistic. We believe things will get back to where they should be very soon. We're fully integrated into the country, and so we're planning for the future, long into the future. So these are some of our mines up in Canada. As I say, we in Saskatchewan, we have Cigar and McArthur River, the 2 largest high-grade world-class mines, produce about 25% of the world production of uranium comes from those mines here in Canada, in Saskatchewan. And then we send here, just Blind River, Ontario, Port Hope, just down the lake. Here we take that uranium and we convert it into a form that it can be made into fuel. And so that's a bunch of we have about 3,000 people in Canada working here. We also have operations in the U.S. and Australia, and we're in Kazakhstan and a bunch of other countries as well. So here's what really kicked it into high gear. Of course, February 2022, we all know what happened there. And so Russia in the world was responsible for about 30 or 40% of the nuclear fuel in the world. And all of a sudden, after the invasion, people said, we're not dealing with them anymore, we're done with them, and started looking for other sources of fuel supply, Ukraine, of course, being one of the first ones. And they came to us and said, we don't want to deal with the Russians anymore. Can you help us? Can you take over the supply? And we looked at it and you say, okay, well, but you know what? We didn't think very long. We said, yep, we're in, all the way. And we signed a deal, you'll see later, we signed a deal till 2035. We supply all of the nuclear fuel for 15 reactors in Ukraine. Unfortunately, 6 of them, the Zaporizhia units, right now are, the Russians we're not sure what they're doing with them, but they have them. We'll get them back. And then, so we're supplying the other 9, and then as soon as we get Zaporizhia back, we'll be supplying 15 of the reactors. And we do it all. We do from uranium in Saskatchewan, conversion processing in Ontario, we get it enriched, and then we make the fuel at our Westinghouse plant in Sweden, Vasteras, Sweden, and then we send it over into Ukraine. So there's Energoatom. You probably know the company. Petro Kotin's a good buddy of mine. We spend a lot of time together. He's a good guy. Herman Alashenko, the minister. Goldie and I have spent lots of time with the prime minister. And so we've got to know them really well, and we've become really great friends. So this is more than a business opportunity. This has become a kind of a friendship thing. And we just said, we won't let you down. We'll stand with you. And you see 55 to 70. There's your nuclear plants in Ukraine, Zaporizhia just to the east. And then South Ukraine, Khmelnytsky and Rivne are the other ones. And so you see about 14,000 megawatts of power coming out of those nuclear power plants. Of course, they're Russian built, all of them, and they used Russian fuel until now. They don't anymore. They're using Canadian fuel, Cameco and Westinghouse fuel. So the deal we signed with them just for the uranium and conversion was a value of about $3 billion. And there's, that doesn't include the fuel fabrication. You could double that and more. So we're in deep, real deep, and we're really proud of it. And I can tell you something else. Our employees are proud of it. They are super proud. It's been publicized in the company and in the province and in the country. And you wouldn't believe how many emails and notes. Way to go, good for us, stand with Ukraine. Like people step up and say, let's do it, let's get on side. So we know absolutely that we're doing the right thing. So there's Petro Coton and I, we signed the official deal in London in March, and then it just keeps going on from there. I was fortunate. I was out duck hunting on the 21st of September. I get a call from the Prime Minister's office, can you be in Toronto the next day? I said, well, I guess so. And so President Zelensky was there, and he wanted to meet us, so we had a good chat. And I can tell you, I get impressed when I meet with Goldie, of course, but other than that, don't get impressed. I can tell you, I didn't know what to say. I was kind of spellbound sitting with President Zelensky, and I just said, I don't even know what to say to you. I see you on TV, but your courage is beyond anything I've seen in my whole life. So we had a good conversation, and so he invited me. He said, well, you got to come to Kyiv. I said, okay, well, I'll come. So about a week later, we go to Kyiv. We just fly from Saskatoon to Warsaw and get in a car, and 10 hours and about 160 kilometers an hour all the way there with a police escort, where we land in Kyiv, and so that was good. We actually went to the Voskok mine. It's just south of Kyiv, about an hour and a half. There is uranium mining in Ukraine, and so they asked if we would bring some experts along just to look at the mine, see if we could talk about production, share some learnings on how mining works. So we did that, had a great meeting with the employees and staff there. Then we went back to Kyiv and signed another cooperation agreement with our two teams in Kyiv. And it's just what Wayne said. Kyiv is unbelievably beautiful city. Middle of the day, you drive around, you wouldn't have a clue anything was going on. But so I'm putting in a plug for some Ukrainian wine here. I actually brought 2 bottles of that back. Herman Halashenko said, I said, that's good wine. He said, okay, here. He gives me 2 bottles, so from the restaurant. The other delights but it's same thing. We were in the restaurant, same thing. You wouldn't know you were anywhere except in the restaurant having a lovely dinner with your friends in Kyiv. So I encourage you, if you haven't been there, go soon. Go now. It's a beautiful place. Our employees stepped up and said, okay, we're going to sell uranium and we're going to work together on fuel and we're going to hopefully build some reactors together going forward. Well, what can we do as employees to help out in Ukraine? And they stepped up. Our unions, who, okay, we don't always see eye to eye on everything, they stepped up and said, how can we help out? So they put together a bunch of backpacks you see in the corner for an orphanage in Slavutich, where you said, which is right by Chernobyl, a few miles, and we sent it over there for the kids in that orphanage. And we've done 3 now. We're going to keep doing it, and that's not me. That's our employees and our unions. That people just want to help out however they can. Some of us can do some things, others can do others. We saw that. We went there in Bucha. That's famous street in Bucha. I don't know what to say about it. It was. I remember exactly watching on CNN that bridge that day. People were walking across there, helping people go across there, and to see it live was anyway. I don't have to tell you. You've been there and you've seen it, but that was something else. So we also have a deal now with Westinghouse. We're looking to build more power. Minister Halashenko and Petro have a plan to build more nuclear power. I mean, you can talk about building the economy. If you don't have electricity, there's no building anything. There's got to be electricity there, and so don't want to be reliant on some of those other countries. And so hopefully we can help out there and get some more power. And actually, Ukraine wants to be an exporter of electricity in the region, so we'll help work on that. This is my last slide. I will never forget, we went there and saw that, and I took a picture of that. That's like 1/10 of those flags in there, and so it's something it's just something that I'll always remember, and that keeps us. I just have to look at that once in a while, and then I know and I remember why we're there. So anyway, thanks very much. I didn't mean to take up too much time.
Heartfelt thanks to both the Honourable Wayne Easter and Mr. Tim Gitzel. Thank you for your commitment to Ukraine. Thank you for sharing your positive story. if you can have a positive experience, I'm sure many here can have a positive experience. And as we know, Ukraine doesn't always get the most positive media stories, so it's wonderful to have two heartfelt, positive stories to share. Thank you very much for your time.